In the first ever episode of How to Buy a Yacht, I assumed the role of a client who wanted to buy a yacht in Venice, Italy, and take it back to the United States. In this episode, I have come myself to the United States, to the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show, to buy a yacht here and take it back to the Mediterranean. And the yacht is one of America's most popular and successful models, the Westport 130.
Aphrodite is actually a great example of one of America's greatest yachts, and the process involved in purchasing her, once again, can be split into the legal, logistic, and financial aspects. The legal aspect is really quite straightforward, and South Florida has an abundance of excellent marine lawyers who can walk you through the contract. On that subject, do make sure you engage a specialised marine lawyer. Sometimes yacht buyers prefer to use their own corporate lawyer, but generally speaking, this can be a very expensive option and can create unnecessary confusion. There is a well-established contract called the YBAA Vessel Purchase and Sale Agreement. There is really no benefit in tinkering with it, especially for a buyer, since it protects the buyer's interests so much. If you really feel that you have to involve your regular lawyer, my recommendation would be that he liaise with a reputable marine lawyer to make sure that everything is done to his satisfaction.
In this series of videos, I've always explained the process of yacht purchase in terms of the legal, the logistic, and the financial. Now, the logistics of this yacht purchase are a little bit more complex because I do want to take the yacht from the United States and put it in the Mediterranean. A Westport 130 does have the range to cross the Atlantic, but I'd rather avoid doing it that way to avoid putting more hours on the engines. There's a much better alternative.
But before I tell you what those better alternatives are, let me remind you that one of the key logistical matters is that you really do need a good marine surveyor to thoroughly survey the vessel and to attend the sea trial. The yachting industry is littered with stories of buyers who decided to take the yacht, as is where lies, without the benefit of a survey. And whilst you can sometimes negotiate a very good discount by waiving your right to survey the vessel, it really isn't recommendable at all. Even a yacht as beautiful and well maintained as this Westport 130 is still a highly complex piece of machinery with electrical systems, machinery, plumbing, not to mention very expensive cabinetry. A good surveyor will look at all those things with an objective eye and let you know if there are any particularly expensive items that need looking after, or indeed if there is some serious issue that you just haven't spotted. As I mentioned though, one of the big logistic issues is that of taking the yacht from the United States to the Mediterranean. Many yacht owners opt to ship the yacht across the Atlantic, sometimes actually shipping it as cargo on a freighter. Remember though that if you do ship the yacht that way, it has to be lifted on board and then lowered back into the ocean when it gets to the other side. And although yachts like this Westport are certainly strong enough to withstand this kind of stress on the hull and the windows, nonetheless, every time a yacht is lifted and lowered, it does represent a risk. For that reason, many yacht owners prefer to use a company called Dockwise Yacht Transport, who have a fleet of ships that partially fill their hull with water, allowing the yachts to actually sail right inside the ship. Once embarked, the water is pumped out, leaving the yacht on supports. Then, during the transatlantic trip, crew members of the yacht are allowed to do work to the yacht itself, And when it gets to the other side, water is again let into the hull so that the yachts can sail out. Although this is usually a little more expensive, it is a tremendously safe and effective method of transport across the Atlantic for a luxury yacht. The other important logistical matter, of course, is finding a crew. Once again, this really starts with finding a good captain, and my sincere advice is to let your captain liaise with a good crew agency to put together people who have the necessary experience and visas to look after the yacht and to give you the level of service you desire in the cruising grounds that you desire. It will come as no surprise to hear that purchasing a luxury yacht is an expensive business, although I would argue that yacht ownership can enrich your life in ways that no other acquisition can. It is important to know exactly what the purchase entails, though, from a financial perspective. First of all, of course, there is the actual purchase price of the yacht, and also the yacht insurance. And actually, this is a good opportunity to thank Private Insurance Services who sponsor this series of videos. The legal fees of a good marine lawyer also need to be factored in, as do the expenses of a competent marine surveyor. Both of these services can pay for themselves over and over again in ensuring that your valuable asset passes to you with clean title and in good working order. Crew are also a significant expense and will often represent about half of your yearly running costs. In the case of this Westport 130, she has a crew of 7, and I can never stress enough the importance of not skimping on the crew. Get a good captain, pay him and his crew well, and not only will your asset be well looked after, thereby minimizing depreciation, but also your time on board will be so much more rewarding. In the case of this yacht, taking it to the Med is a notable one-off expense, and be aware that you usually have separate insurance cover for this trip too. And when you get to the Med, there will be berth costs that can vary greatly according to where you would like to keep the vessel. I highly recommend that you talk to your broker to ask him for a quote for all of the above. He or she will have good connections with lawyers, surveyors, and probably yacht transport companies too, and can really assist in putting you in contact with the right people.
Actually, filming this video has reminded me of just what a great yacht the Westport 130 really is and why so many of these have been sold. If I really was in a financial position to buy a yacht like this, she'd certainly be on my shortlist. But to make her pass from my shortlist to my list of assets, once again, all that I need is the right team. I need a good marine lawyer to ensure that the transaction takes place smoothly. I need a good surveyor, somebody who can look at every detail of the vessel so that I know exactly what it is that I'm getting into. But with this yacht above all, I'd really want to get an excellent captain, because the captain would be expected to coordinate the shipping of the yacht from here to the Mediterranean. With that kind of team, I could sit back and relax, enjoy my yacht, and maybe find time for some piano lessons.